Well, hello there, friends, and welcome back to Simple Essentials. Today, we are going to dive into a video that you guys requested, which is some of my favorite easy snacks. Now, when we're making snacks, whether you're bringing them to work, sending them with your kids to school, or whatever, we need a couple of different types of containers. So, when it comes to snacks, I actually often use plastic container for the obvious reason that they weigh a little bit less and they tend to be pretty leak proof. So you'll see here that I've got a couple of different kinds. The one on the far right is a glass bottom one with a plastic lid. So those are some good options for some of the things I'm going to make today. Another great one are these reusable kind of Ziploc bag style things, not affiliated at all with this brand, but I'll link a similar thing in the description box below. And these are just normal takeaway containers that you get with your Thai food or whatever. And they can also be really good, especially if you kind of don't necessarily need to bring them back every time. So let's dive into some of my favorite snacks. And we're going to start with my all-time favorite, which is peanut butter and apple. This one is so dead simple. You don't really want to prep this too far ahead of time though, because as you might know, apples can go a bit brown if you leave them. So what I'm doing here is basically just cutting it up. I never really peel my fruit and veg unless, there are brown spots or something like that. The peel of most things, as long as you've washed it thoroughly, is actually not bad for you at all. So just cutting all of this up and getting it ready. Now, with peanut butter, you do want to be mindful and have a look at the ingredient list for the peanut butter, because as you see here, there's a fair bit of sugar as well as vegetable fat or vegetable oil. Normally, I buy the peanut butter that is just pure peanut butter, but this particular time, this is what I had on hand. So just be really aware of what you're eating and what's in the stuff that you're eating. Peanut butter is obviously a very inexpensive thing. Having myself a little snack as I prepare my snacks. So this is something that I normally do night before or the morning of if I'm bringing something like this with me to work. Now, naturally, you can use a container of any kind for this, but I do also recommend if you want to, you can put the peanut butter in a separate little tub and use one of these plastic bags for your apples. Now, chia pudding is fast becoming one of my favorite healthy snacks. You really only need coconut milk or coconut cream, chia seeds, and some kind of sweetener of your choice, which is totally optional. You could also use cinnamon or anything like that, whatever flavors that you like. If you use coconut cream, it becomes a lot thicker. If you use coconut milk, it's a little bit more, I guess you could call it gooey. I still very much like it, but I know for a lot of people it's a texture thing. So with coconut milk especially, you want to stir it up so that it's really nice and combined and that you don't have those layers in it that you often have in canned coconut milk. And then you pour it into a tub of your choice. Now, I was very optimistic here, thinking, yeah, this will totally fit in this container. You will see me change it out in just a minute. But essentially, all you need to do is measure up a quarter cup of chia seeds to 1 can of coconut cream or milk. Oopsie, starting to overflow. I'm looking at it, I'm thinking I can mix it, and I realize I definitely can't. So to the rescue is the standard plastic container that I normally use. So let's see if we can do, oh, look at that, didn't spill much, amazing. Now, what you want to do, because chia seeds, if you haven't used chia seeds before, what they do is that they swell up as you leave them in some form of liquid. So what you want to do is make sure that you're combining and mixing this quite thoroughly. It's still very runny at this point, but you want to mix that up really well. And I just normally put a little tiny bit of maple syrup is usually the one. I've done this with cinnamon, which is really nice as well. So that's what it looks like, and now we are basically just going to put that in the fridge. Normally I leave it overnight, and then it will be kind of solid enough, or almost like a bit thicker than yogurt, I guess you could say, for the next day. And then I just bring this little container with me to work. I'll normally serve it up with apples or a bit of fruit, and this container will usually last me 2 to 3 days for snacks, and you store it in the fridge. Next up, we've got a really simple snack with hummus and veggies. Now you can make your own hummus. I will link a video where I've done that in the past, but this day I did not feel like making hummus from scratch. So I'm using the store-bought hummus. But yes, I'll link a video below, including a recipe that's so easy to make yourself. Also, a lot of hummus, including the one on the screen here, actually has vegetable oil in it, which isn't great for you. So I do try to make my own hummus whenever I have the time and the energy. But this particular day, you'll see I didn't even peel my carrots. I just washed them really thoroughly and then cut them up into smaller pieces. I'm going to serve this up as well with some corn thins. You might like rice cakes or any kind of crackers that you sort of prefer. Now, carrots, similar to a lot of other things, won't stay fresh for overly long. So depending how long you're storing this in the fridge, you can do the little trick that I'm going to show you in a second, and basically just put a paper towel in the container. You'd wet this paper towel, so make sure that it's nice and wet, and then you'd put your carrots in. For this example, I'm actually going to have these carrots the same day, so I'm not going to add that in there. But I'm basically making two different versions of this snack, one for myself and one for my husband. And this is where you can use your little containers. If you don't like things to co-mingle with the hummus, you could use a little container and keep it sort of separate on the side, especially perhaps if you're bringing this in a lunchbox along with other things. I really like rice cakes or corn thins with this as well, depending on how busy a day I have or, you know, how hungry I am at snack time. So that's essentially it. Two super simple options with very minimal ingredients, easy to make, very kid friendly. We've even brought this when we've gone hiking and things like that in the past as well. And next up we have my very first attempt at deviled eggs. Now, quite often I will literally just have a boiled egg as a snack, but I know that's not for everyone, so I wanted to mix it up a little bit today and show you another way of having boiled eggs and making it a little bit more interesting, I guess. This is my first crack at making deviled eggs ever. I know that it's quite common on some of the channels here on YouTube, so I thought I'd have a go and just sort of see. Now, normally with boiled eggs, I just let the water come to a boil, and I prefer them to boil for about 8 minutes, which still leaves the yolk a little bit kind of gooey, but not too runny. So as you'll see here, I left it for 9 minutes. I just drained the eggs and put them in cold water with some ice to make sure that the cooking process had stopped. And there's my eggs waiting for me, and I headed out into my garden because my little veggie patch is finally starting to take shape. So I went and picked some fresh dill that I wanted for the particular recipe that I'm doing today. So here we've got a couple of the eggs. I've peeled them, I've got my dill, I've got some homemade yogurt, I've got some lemon pepper, which is one of my favorite seasonings when it comes to egg, avocado, all sorts of things. So we're basically just going to cut our eggs here in half. Now you don't have to use this as a snack. This can be for any sort of way you like to serve your eggs. So I'm cutting them in half. Now you would have seen there that the yolk wasn't quite as cooked as it could have been. In hindsight, I probably would have left them maybe another 30 to 60 seconds in that boiling water. But sometimes, you know, you live and you learn with these things, and it does depend a little bit on the size of your eggs. So I'm just scooping out all the yellow into a separate little bowl and mixing that up. It was actually super duper simple to do this. I can't believe I haven't done this before. So anyway, I'm just using a little tiny bit of yogurt. I could have probably used a little bit less because the filling for these deviled eggs ended up being a little bit runny. So next time I might kind of add a bit less yogurt, or make sure, like I said, that I boil the eggs just a tiny bit longer. Cutting up my dill. By the way, it's my first ever time as an adult having a little veggie patch with fresh herbs and stuff. So I am so excited that I can just go out to my garden now and grab things for my dishes. I am working on growing tomatoes and a few other things as well. So I will keep you posted how I go with that in my budget meal prepping. But this is essentially what it looks like when I've mixed it up. And now all we're going to do is, whoopsie, a broken one. That one's for my little snack straight after. And now you're just going to put the this little mixture back in the center of each egg and pop them back in the fridge. It's really that simple. In Sweden, where I'm originally from, we do a lot of fish and egg dishes and things like that for Easter and for midsummer and things like that. So this is definitely a recipe that I'll be cooking again. Yum, so good. So they turned out really, really good, and it was a lot easier than I thought. I imagine you could also mix in some prawn or anything else that you like with this recipe. So there you go. We're just going to pop those in a little container in the fridge, and my husband enjoyed these the next day for a snack at work and he loved them. If you like this video, give me a thumbs up and I look forward to see you in the next one.